What's a common trap you see, like, I'll say more technical or dev founders fall into when they're trying to like go from freelancing some projects and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and then they're like,
Right.
I want to turn this now into an agency or a business.
hmm
What are any common traps or pitfalls or just like setbacks that you see those types of founders fall into really quickly?
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple that come up. First is some limiting beliefs that
Mm,
tend to pigeonhole, so you're only seeing like this much of the picture, but there's a lot of them that come from developers like, I'm not good at sales. I don't do the admin. I just program. I just want headphones in dark rooms and I'm going to sit and code, like,
yeah.
okay, that's good. That's your lane. I get it. But it doesn't mean you can't do those other things. It doesn't mean you can't be aware of those other things. So some of those limitations between your ears can really screw you.
This is Super SaaS Bros with Cory and Jade. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Super SaaS Bros. Today is only actually one of the hosts, and that's me, Cory. Jade is graciously off today, enjoying some time down in Houston, going to Alphaland, but we have an exciting kind of replacement for him today. He is someone that has gone from, I think, marketing, software, now coaching and consulting. He's had quite the journey. I'm happy to bring Justin Lund onto the podcast. Justin, thank you for joining, man.
Thanks for having me, Cory. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think we just, we randomly met each other, but it's really exciting to get some really awesome founders on the podcast with I think you have such a very crazy and unique story. You've had some big wins, you've had some big losses as well, too. So we'll try to dive into a couple of things as well. But I always like to start off our guests with a little bit of a scenario. And it's just a good way to kind of help kind of share like who you are, what you do.
Sure.
But you're getting into an Uber, you're heading into downtown, for a night. You maybe got a 20-minute drive in. The Uber driver asks you like, hey, like, so what do you do? What are you telling them?
It's a good question. It depends on my energy level. Like sometimes I may get into it, sometimes I may not, to be completely honest. Because sometimes I get
Yeah.
in an Uber, I'm like, bro, I'm just ready to zone out. So I'm going to
Yeah.
chill. But no, in that case, I work with other entrepreneurs. I help business people get unstuck and just try to get them out of their own way so that they
Yep.
can really release and unleash their own creativity and bring it to the marketplace and bring it to their customers, bring it to their students, to whatever, and just kind of stop and prevent some of the blockers that tend to get in our way in that journey.
Yeah, and I'm sure from your own experience as well too, which is always the best when you can deliver it from that perspective.
Yeah.
We'll dive into that a little bit, but like talking to entrepreneurs and founders, I feel like we're a little bit of a unique breed in how we think. We somehow, I think, crave the pain of growth. And so I always like to ask, like, what got you into entrepreneurship? Because some people stumbled upon it, some people actively chose it.
Yeah.
Like, what was your defining kind of journey to get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I believe that entrepreneurs like are this, maybe not rare, like in America, there's a lot of us, it's a more common kind of trait, but
Yep.
it's a special breed, if not rare, definitely special.
Yeah.
Because we get up in the morning and we go out into the unknown and we build stuff that doesn't exist. And that by definition, like most people are just like, no thanks. I want to know what's coming. I want to know what to expect.
Yep.
And that's a deeply seated human trait that is across cultures, that we just like the known. So entrepreneurs buck that a little bit in that trend. And to me, it's always felt natural, but I've been asked the question several times in different settings like this. And I
Yep.
really think there was a seed planted when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And one of my older brothers, this is back like the early mid 80s. He
Yep.
bought Tony Robbins' Personal Power tape cassette program, right? This thing
Oh
was on
yeah.
the infomercials on TV. It was $300 back then, if I remember right, which is like $12,000 today. And it came in the mail, and there's this tape set thing, this guy that I'd seen on TV commercials. And my brother's like, yeah, just check it. You can listen to it. You can do whatever you want. I thought it was cool that he let me do that because I knew it was
Yep.
expensive.
Yep.
And then I listened to Tony Robbins, and he's like, I'm flying my helicopter into my events. And I'm like, that sounds phenomenal. I mean, way
Yeah.
better than going to a job every day. So I think that's really what kind of got, and that brother too, he kind of led a wild and free spirited lifestyle. And then the Tony Robbins thing was just like, yeah, man, I want to do my thing. I want to decide what I'm doing. So it's that independence and not wanting to be put in a box and be told what to do by somebody else. It's really that. That's probably the main spark that really fanned the flame, or
Yep.
the fan that was the spark, and the fan was, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do that on my own.
I like that. I think about back on my own journey as well too. And I think for me it was actually, I think it was like Rich Dad Poor Dad was the book
Okay.
that maybe was planted the seed, like you mentioned, like
Yeah.
into eventually not wanting to just stay in like, a 9 to 5 or a corporate job or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. Because he talked about like the rat race, right? And talked about
Mhm.
like how do you get out of the rat race?
Mhm.
And so I always
For
had that in
sure.
my mind. I also always had my dad like just, saying that like don't stay in the rat race, don't stay in the rat race, right? So well, cool. I mean, there's like good defining books. Tony Robbins is a great one, and then like I know the Rich Dad Poor Dad books as well too.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
all
Those are great.
fantastic.
For
So
sure.
what was your first business then? Like legit business? Because I feel like we've all had like little
Yeah.
ventures that
Yeah.
maybe we've tried. But what was your first legit business?
So yeah, I tried a number of things that didn't work, and there was always somebody else involved or some other circumstances. And I was young. I mean, I started at like 18 trying to venture off with ideas and just
Yep.
didn't know what the hell I was doing. But the first one that it came after personal trial, a low point where I hit kind of a bottom. But that was in those moments of problems and troubles, that are definitely the seeds of opportunity. And that's where
Yep.
like a rebirth and a growth can come from. So I had been locked up in jail for possession of illegal drugs. And as a result of that, went into rehab to hopefully avoid going to long-term jail prison time.
Right.
And it was in that rehab facility that I learned a lot about who I was. And so all the psychology that I liked from like the Tony Robbins stuff, I really got to learn. I took psychology and things in college.
Yeah.
Like the path of a social worker, therapist, nah, that wasn't my gig.
Yeah.
So I got into sales. Sales got me into drugs. Drugs got me into rehab. Rehab got me back to psychology. And now it's all about my psychology, though. It's like only what's happening in this 6 inches. And I thought, man,
Yeah.
this is cool. So I loved it. I dug deep into that and learned what made me tick. And then after that is when I realized I got to do something on my own, because doing dumb things and unfulfilling things leads me to a place where I like to numb that feeling of there's a cognitive dissonance, like I
Yep.
feel like I could do more, but I'm settling for doing here.
Yep.
So let's go get high. Let's go get drunk. Something else can fill that noise instead of doing the work to actually try. So I learned that I needed to try in rehab, and then I started an agency at that point and didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew nothing about it, but I had some friends who said, you were really good at sales and you're really good at calling the leads. Now, why don't you go work with the companies that create the leads and get the traffic and do the media buying? And so I
Yep.
thought, okay, media buyer, that would be something I could do. I didn't really know what that meant. But then
Yeah.
what it kind of evolved into after maybe 90 days of trying to figure out what I was going to do, I essentially became a broker. I recognized that there were people selling products over here. And then over on the other side of the continuum, there's people that, and mind you, this is like 2005-ish. Facebook, very new. There's a handful of people that are like buying ads in Facebook because this is a whole new thing that you could do.
Yep.
And then there's these old advertisers that want to sell products and services. They don't know shit about Facebook, right? They're like, okay, maybe it's a fad. Maybe, I don't know. There was a disconnect between these two parties. And I thought, man, there's some young guys and gals out there that really know how to optimize and buy the traffic. If I can make these two parties get along and be in the middle of this, maybe I can keep a little percentage. So that was basically my business model.
Cool.
I would work with both parties. I learned enough about each of their businesses that I could kind of speak to their pain points. And then I just managed the relationship and the payments. So I'd get an advertiser that's spending $100,000 a week. I'd spend 80, 90,000 a week in the ads to these guys that were doing the ads. I'd keep 10 for my troubles, in the
Yeah.
middle, and make
Yeah.
sure that everybody got paid and, just kind of manage that whole relationship.
Cool. Wow. That's a interesting business model then. Like I think a lot
Yeah.
of a lot of agencies like just do now is like just get paid or have a retainer for services and then you just
Yeah.
like just do those services and sometimes it doesn't
Mhm.
even include like ad spend and all that jazz, right? So
Right.
but very cool. That's awesome. And then after like kind of you've stepped off of that, like where did you go? What was the next phase of your journey?
Yeah, well, that grew. Yeah, well, it didn't grow fast. Mind you, I just come out of rehab, so I didn't have a lot of cash. I just left a trail of collateral damage in my past,
Right. Yep.
financially and pretty much anything you could imagine.
Oh,
So I was sleeping on my mom's floor for the next year with my wife, two kids now. Not a good place to be a few years after getting married is back in your mom's house on the floor of the living room. Like, really sucks.
yeah.
Put some pressure on the marriage.
Yep.
But I knew that I had to really stick with that and try to work through that process to see if I could prove to myself and to everybody else that I could do something without a partner that was going to give up or some dumbass weird arrangement. So it was just all on me. That took me about a year to get to the point where there was any revenue to speak of. Then after that year, things started to kind of climb. And then after that second year, it started to really, there was a hockey stick sort of growth that was phenomenal.
Nice.
And that created opportunities to take the agency and create like a technology company as a result, and then a hosting company, and then a data management company. So there was 5 or 6 other entities that were kind of supporting that one, as well as they were going to get their own customers out into the world. So
Yeah.
it grew exponentially in those few years. Then we had
That-
2009 and 10.
Yeah.
Economy shifts, housing crisis, a lot of liquidity dries up. People go into bankruptcy protection, bills don't get paid, advertising dollars are not being spent. That changed things. And then I had a little issue to deal with a partner that was siphoning money away from those businesses
Yikes.
day after day, all those years. So I had a legal battle to deal with to try to climb out of that mess and take care of the back taxes. And then I also that's when I got into a software development company with one of my former employees in the agency. One of the developers there said, "Hey, why don't you want to be my partner?" And I said, "Well, what kind of a business?" He's like, "Software development." I'm like, "Dude, what am I going to do?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know shit about that. Like, what are you serious? I couldn't tell you one thing. href equals. Like, that's it, dude. And
Nice.
so he's like, no. I got the code. I need you for like the payroll and the bookkeeping and the business stuff and the contracts and the sales and I'll do all of that. So we got into that, and I said, I got this lawsuit that I'm just starting to deal with right now. I can do the administrative, like the business side of it, but I'm a minimal partner. Like I'm not there to work every day. I don't need to draw salary or anything like that right out of the gate. Like, so we started that, and he had a couple of potential contacts that wanted the work done right away, and he just kind of wanted somebody to manage the structure and the business stuff. So that kind of got me into software development. And before, in the agency, we had 40 developers at one point, I think.
In the agency.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
in one of its subsidiaries, right? Like one of those supporting companies, because we got to the point. Now, mind you, Cory, this is before AWS, Google Cloud hosting.
Right.
So some of our advertisers, they would have a shared, shitty Hostiator account, and we're trying to send like 200,000 people a day to their campaigns. We had the publishers, these guys over here driving traffic. They're like, holy shit, your servers keep going down. And the advertiser's like, I don't care. I'm selling pens, dude. I don't really know anything about servers.
Yeah.
So that was the gap, right? We had to fill that gap. So when the sales start picking up and the traffic goes up, so we started bringing more and more high-tech people in, developers, that we had to build an infrastructure. In fact, we were talking about like one of the more expensive lessons learned. Unfortunately, I have a lot of expensive lessons in life, but one of them is regarding hosting. One of we had traffic start going up, as things were getting really busy. And so we were paying people based on the amount of sales that they were getting. And one morning at about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, the servers went down. Okay. And
Yikes.
nobody knew about this because, again, no to AWS. This is way before all that stuff.
Yep.
Servers go down. Somebody gets up at like 6:30, notices that there's weird behavior going on. So they log in, they reboot things, restore some backups. They get back on going like 15 minutes. So the total downtime is like 2.5 hours, I think, something like that. It was about $85,000 in advertising dollars that would have been exchanged based on historical conversion rates and like what normally would have happened during those hours. We had we had the historical data, so we knew what would have happened.
Yep.
But instead, people were getting 404 errors and just,
Yikes.
so all that traffic's being purchased, and that's That was one of those expensive lessons where we wrote the check for the 287 and we didn't get any revenue from the advertisers because they're like, we sell pens. We don't know shit about hosting. That's not our gig.
Yeah, they're like, that's your job. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point,
Damn.
that was one of those lessons that taught us how to put in backups and alerts and alarms. So now our first system was when a server goes down, it's pinged every 10 seconds, 30 seconds. I don't know what it was, but 7 people would get text messages if it didn't respond to the ping every time, So it's like, that was our first basic system.
Wow. You were like on the journey up of like all these like infrastructures and systems and processes that are like kind of coming into play that now I think are taken for not taken for granted, but like they're just so commonplace now, right? Like you don't even think about
all the redundancies, all the backups, all the like the load bearing. So we'd have one campaign that start to pop off and just the servers couldn't handle that kind of stuff. And again, it feels like it's so long ago because now nobody thinks about it. It's like, oh, you just provision a thing over here and Google manages that for you. Traffic spikes, they expand it to more boxes, more data centers. Like we were doing all that shit manually, man. Like we had routing that would come in. Like if somebody came to a landing page from Georgia, we manually would have the system in place to make sure they hit a data center somewhere in the Southeast.
Oh my
if
gosh.
They came in from Oregon, we manually put them into like San Francisco or Salt Lake City, or we had all these data centers manually set up. It was bananas.
That is bonkers. I mean, what an experience to experience that, and then like nowadays just like being like that does not does not exist. It's just like it happens automatically. You don't need to worry about it. Insane. So like in either both the agency or even when you got into like kind of the software business itself, you've worked, like you said, you had like in the agency, you said like 40 developers there. And then in the software, I'm sure you've experienced this as well too. But like, what's a and maybe even with your coaching now too, but like what's a common trap you see, like I'll say more technical or dev founders fall into when they're trying to like go from, usually it starts like that. They're like freelancing some projects and all this stuff. And then they're like, I want to turn this now into an agency or a business. What are any common traps or pitfalls or just like setbacks that you see those types of founders fall into really quickly?
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple that come up. First is some limiting beliefs that tend to pigeonhole, so you're only seeing like this much of the picture. And those can be pretty wide in variance and what type of limiting beliefs there are, but there's a lot of them that come from developers. Like, I'm not good at sales. I don't do the admin. I just program. I just want headphones in dark rooms and I'm going to sit and code, okay, that's good. That's your lane. I get it. But it doesn't mean you can't do those other things. It doesn't mean you can't be aware of those other things. So some of those limitations between your ears can really screw you. And they can get really expensive if you don't just address them. One of the other big things that I think in that space that can be a big problem for people is hiring out of order. A lot of people think like this is the big one that I see again and again. Yeah, the mindset and the limiting beliefs and stuff, that's a little airy-fairy, and some people don't, especially engineers, are like, how can I measure it? It's like, okay, I get it. You can't. But when you hire the wrong person, you can measure, and I can show you exactly how that works. You bring people in typically they just want another engineer. They want another developer. And that's sometimes okay. It depends on where they're at in their journey. But typically it's better to start with admin and the bottom of I call it a delegation priority pyramid, right? My base, the foundation is you got to start getting the systems off your plate that are not as mission critical to the business. They are in the long run, but it's not like if you don't respond to your email in a timely way, or you don't have your financials totally up to date, or somebody makes a mistake, you're not going to have a $287,000 error because of like right away. It can stack up into that for sure if you don't do your books right. But that's where you start bringing people in to lighten the founder's load. So if some person is out there, they want to take this little side gig into a solopreneur gig, great. Do your thing. As soon as you start maxing out your capacity with, I'm trying to send an invoice, I'm trying to do a couple of demos and sales calls every day, like start getting the bullshit off your plate first. And by bullshit, I mean like get somebody to help you with your email management, with your books and your invoicing, like, because guaranteed There's people out there that will do that stuff. Like, you'll never see me hanging around spreadsheets and playing in there just for fun. But there's
No, for
people
sure.
like right next door. My assistant is in the next office over. She does.
Yep.
Every time I ask her to do something, like, hey, could you do a thing? She's like, yeah, let me start a spreadsheet. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, what? I'm glad you love that because I'm going to hate it. You know?
Yeah, it's such a underrated first hire. I know for us, that was definitely one of the first that we got was like EAVA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just get rid of your inbox, get rid of your calendar,
100%.
everything like that. It's amazing how much capacity it actually takes where you don't actually need it. And I call those things like those are like the the $5 task, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you don't want to be doing $5 tasks, right? You want to be
No.
doing other things that are driving major value for the business,
Bigger
right?
levers. You got to pull bigger levers. And here's the thing that is often missed, Cory, is everything you said is 100% true.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, when you start at that level and you bring in some admin help or you hire a bookkeeping agency or something like that, and if you do it with your eyes open and not a head in the sand sort of approach, it starts to give you a new set of skills, okay? A new, like managing different people, managing a process, dealing with human resources instead of just deploying code resources, like you're already good at that. So keep getting good, stay good with that. But there's a level. It's like a thermostat, right? When you get cold, you turn it up. When you get too hot, you turn it down. And a lot of people operate in this level. And I have some of my clients that have been in this level. Like, it's a revenue level, usually is how I measure it. And they've been in this level for 15 years. There's a guy that I'm coaching right now. He's 25 years in business. For the last 15 years, he's been within $100,000, between $2.9 and $3 million of annual revenue for 15 years.
Damn.
He goes up, he comes down. He goes up, he comes down. Because below that, he's losing money. Above that, shit just gets tough. It gets complicated. Because nobody told him on the climb up that as he's going there, that you need to set aside some of your time to start working on human resource development. So you're a plumber, you're great at plumbing, and you're running a kick-ass plumbing company and doing really well, but you got to learn more than just how to stick the pipes together. Like, if you really want to keep growing, there's more to the business. And so if you think about it, these guys that are developers or plumbers or whatever, they start because that's the trade that they know. And so when they're good at that trade, they just think, I'm going to hang out my shingle and go into business. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Do it. But once you start to get a certain point where your calendar gets full, you're at capacity, you need to get some of your time back and put it into, how am I going to become a leader of people now? How am I, like, nobody likes to hear that word, but you got to start thinking about numbers. Like, what, I've talked to a guy yesterday running a maintenance company, and he's like, man, I thought I was going to bring in like 280 last year, and then I got the tax bill. And it's like, I'm like, dude, if you would have just thought about taxes 4 times last year for an hour each, I bet you would have cut your tax bill in half. I'm talking $80,000 of savings. That's 80 grand that you'd have in your pocket today. But you're not a numbers guy. I mean, dude,
Yep.
Is 80 grand worth being a little bit of a numbers guy? Because, I mean, So that's kind of what people run into for those blockers.
And so, but like, okay, now we'll throw it back to you. You know this now. Like, you think about how you'd hire now. But like, what was like that moment for you? Because I imagine, like, when you first kind of started, whether in the agency or in the software business or whatever it might have been, like, you probably hired wrong yourself. Yeah. So how did you get from, maybe hiring wrong to like hiring right now using that like delegation pyramid you were talking about?
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of $287,000 tuition payments and dumb shit like that, so that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I like working with other founders now, because like, there's only 2 ways to learn something. You learn through trial and error, or you learn through somebody else's trial and error. So you want to read a book? Do you want to take a page of somebody else's notes? Do you want to get that result, 2, 3, 5 times faster than just stumbling your way through it? And so, Cory, to answer your question, like, many of those things I just figured out because I did it completely wrong the first 2, 5, 10 times I did it, and then realized, damn. But then what I started to learn And here's the thing, in the last 15 years, between coaches, consultants, legal and financial advisors, I've paid millions of dollars in getting knowledge. I don't want to go to law school. I don't want to become an accountant. I mean, stab me in the face. That is not my thing. But can I sit down with my accountant? Like, that's the first system that I talk about with clients that tell me, because this is a common thing that I hear, like, dude, I'm just not good with numbers. I'm just not good. I'm like, cut the shit. Nobody is unless you're an accountant. But you're not. You're a plumber, you're a developer, you're whatever. So stop saying that and get your head out of the sand. And here's your first assignment, your first system that you're going to deploy for number improvement. Call your fucking CPA now and schedule 4 meetings with him over the next year, 1 per quarter. And do not schedule one of them in March, because during March, the only time you've ever spoken to your CPA, they are the most busy of their entire life. And they're going to give you this much time and attention. And you're going to think, wow, that's just not really a great experience. Call them in July and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Try that one on. It's a totally different person you're talking to in July. They're like, hey, what's up, man?
Like, I have all the free time in the world. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what can make a real big difference for people. And, I've mentioned this story a time or two. Like, I do this. This is a page out of my book. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not like, dude, I got a whole series of stories I could tell you about how bad I was taken to the cleaners. Yeah. But now I call my CPA every quarter. And most of my clients are like, well, what would I even say? I'm not prepared for a call like that. But neither am I. But I just call them. So I have a place on my calendar where I know that on this date, I'm talking to my accountant. So if something comes up, I'm like, I wonder what that's going to do to my taxes. Guess what I do? I search Google Calendar for CPA meeting. I pull that shit up and I just add a bullet point to the meeting. So when that pops up 3 months from now, I have a bit of an agenda by then. Okay. So there might only be 2 or 3 things on it. There might be 10. One of the meetings that I've loved is just telling him how my wife took a brand new, we leased an Expedition for 2 years. We're at the end of the end of the thing.
Yep.
She slides off the road just a little on the first, there was this much snow on the ground. Like, it was just a little skiff. Just lost control for a minute 2 weeks before we were supposed to turn it in. And does like $18,000 of damage.
Oy.
So I'm telling Paul, my CPA, I'm telling him this. I'm like, Paul, can you believe this shit? Like, seriously, just 2 more weeks, man. And he's like, wait, hang on. Is this the Expedition that this company leases? And I said, yeah. It's like a 90,000, whatever. And he's like, wait, hold up. Shit, are you going to get a new car? I'm like, yeah, I mean, eventually, whatever. He's like, no, can you get one like in this month? Could you do it now? I'm like, what do you mean? Why? It's like, there's accelerated depreciation. If you get a half-ton vehicle and you do this and then the accelerated depreciation, you write the whole thing up and he starts going bananas. I'm like, whoa, dude, what do you mean? What does this all mean? He's like, it means you'll get $60,000 off your tax bill this year. I'm like, well, fuck, why do you say so, bro? Yeah, I got to go. I'm going to the dealership.
Start with that, yeah.
Dropped my tax bill by $60,000 of taxable income because of that, which also changed my marginal tax rate because now the rest of my income is down here instead of up here.
Yep.
I saved so much money because I was telling him a story about what happened a couple of weeks before that with the little first snow of the season that came in October. You know what I mean?
Wild.
Like, set up the meeting. Set the meeting up.
I love that. To me, that's a good record. I think for us, we meet monthly with ours just because, maybe it's overkill, but it's enough for us. But like you said,
for sure,
with tax year end, we don't really talk that much. We just leave that alone. But but this kind of was clicking in my head is like, it's not just about talking to your CPA, but it's about talking to the right people. And so has there been someone in your life, whether like a mentor, an advisor, someone that like their teachings change something in the way that you think or the mindset you have now? Yeah. Is there anyone in your world that you want to attribute like a lot of maybe the shift in mindset that you've had?
I don't know that I would go to one particular place because it's a part of what I do every day, Cory, and not to discount any of the awesome people that have affected my life. Well, maybe like one of the biggest pivotal points was in rehab, I guess. And there was a guy named Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob.
And Dr. Bob, man, the guy looked like Santa Claus. Big white beard, white hair, he was a big dude.
Jolly guy, yeah.
Yeah. He was not a jolly guy though. That was the oxymoron about it. It was like
funny, okay.
Guy, but he was kind of a hard ass. Right. And he would just cut through me. Like he would say things that were just like, I remember one day sitting in this therapy circle, right? And there's all these guys and gals in there that are in the same boat that I am, like trouble with the law, and they're drug addicts and stuff. And I'm like, if I can, when I get out of here, I'll do anything to be back with my family. I'll flip burgers. It doesn't matter. I'll do anything. I'll dig ditches. And he's like, well, you're a dumb motherfucker then. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm like, whoa, dude, Santa, you're not supposed to talk like that. You're like that he wasn't jolly, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, if your dumb ass hasn't learned by now that the only reason you do drugs is because you don't give yourself the ability to live up to your own potential, and you go take some dumbass dead-end job like that again, then I will see your dumb ass back here 2 weeks later, because you'll be doing drugs again. You'll probably get pinched by the law again, and you'll be right back here, but this time for 6 months instead of 6 weeks. And I was like,
damn,
I never thought of it that way. And that was what
Yeah.
gave me the resolve that I gotta figure out if I can do this on my own or not. Stop with
crazy.
the excuses and the scapegoats, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've ever would have thought about it that way too. Because when people in that situation, they just like you always hear it, like they're like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes. But usually, whatever it takes is just like work insane amount of hours, work like the dead end jobs. But like those ones never get you any further than where you probably could go. And that was like that's the lesson, is that it will just like keep you in the same circle. It won't elevate you into the one above, right?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. That's a really cool one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So really interesting now, like this is an AI tech entrepreneurship podcast. So I have to try to bring, some AI conversation into this as well. Like I know you've had like a software agency as well too, but I want to talk more about your current space, which is like coaching and consulting. How have you seen AI tech affecting that space in particular? Because some context for yourself too. I love coaches. I think having like the team of coaches around you is huge, because like I grew up along like a lifetime athlete. I was in hockey, and like being around coaches, I thought about it for a long time. I was like, every step of my career in hockey, I had a coach for something, multiple coaches to improve every area of my life. Right. So when I got into adulthood, I eventually realized, I was like, why am I not doing this now? Like if I want an amazing mindset, why don't I have a mindset coach? If I want to be better in business, why don't I have a business coach? If I want to be better in relationships, why don't I have a relationship coach, right? So like all these things. So like I love coaches. But now you see a lot of people just like, having their conversations with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is their coach and all this stuff. So I'm interested, like, how are you seeing it change your space? How are you using it yourself to like improve the space? Yeah. What is AI like in your world?
Yeah, I think that, well, first of all, I think it is a good coach and therapist. So, and it's better than not doing that. So you can absolutely use it in that capacity. And it just knows everything. So how it affects me is it allows me to run faster with my clients, which is cool, because it takes a lot of these most of my, I have worked with some software guys, and I have run software companies. Lately, I've had a lot of the trades guys come in that are not super high tech, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, these kind of guys. And when I show them that they can create an SOP with Chat GPT in about 19 seconds, and they're like, shut up. And they don't, and I just show them that, but I'm like, that it really pulls a lot of those mindset blockers out, where they're like, I'm not really good in creating all this stuff. I'm like, you don't have to be. Turn on your camera and record your ass like plumbing a house and talk about what you're doing. A, we might create some good content out of that. B, we'll sure as hell create a good SOP out of that. And now you've got a checklist to follow, and it's like, whoa. So that's a whole new thing, that to coach people through that process before AI was so much slower. But most all of my clients get that. A lot of them are scared of it. They're like, I don't really know how it works. But a few demonstrations, and they're like, shit, I got this. Okay. So it's cool. Because then it gets us to the next level, and we can start working on other stuff, because they're not just stuck down here on that bottom foundational admin block. So now we can get into, how do we grow? How do we accelerate this process? Because we can use all of that. So that's the biggest impact that I'm personally seeing with my clients, is just barrier from level to level is shrinking, because we can get there faster, way faster.
And anything on the downside though? Are you seeing like it being used in a way, either by your clients or just by other coaches that you've kind of seen that is maybe you disagree with how they're using it or the use of it?
Not that I know of offhand. Like nothing comes to mind in that way. I'm
Cool.
sure. Well, I know there's a lot of things. There's a lot of fraud and things going on with AI because the
But
amount
more
of
pros than cons then it seems like, like in
yeah,
terms of
yeah.
like actually getting better results and outcomes. Yeah.
I think so. And again, like the fraud shitbags that are out there, they're always going to be out there. And it's like, come on, put your powers to good use, please. But
Cool.
the crazy things that they can do and crunching all the data that you can crunch that fast with AI, you can create. Like we got an invoice email the other day, and my bookkeeper was like, "Okay, so do you want me to pay this?" I'm like, "Have you ever heard those names?" And it was awesome. Like as far as a fraud email goes, I was impressed. It was really good. It
Damn.
had W-9s attached, wire instructions, a whole email thread between me and the bookkeeper and some other party, and even an approval. Like it was just pieced together beautifully and tricked them.
Damn.
And I'm like, come on, there was nothing. There was no. You never heard of these names. Why would you put this on the sheet to approve without even thinking twice? So, but that's the downside that I have been a witness to. But otherwise, I like to focus on what's good. I like to focus on building, and it's really helped a lot of my clients and me create faster SOPs and documentation that just it kind of empowers them. It takes those limiting beliefs, it sticks them to the side, and it's empowering for them to move faster.
I love it. And speaking of your clients, like where do you like what's your big goal? I love talking about big goals, like no small plans, Where do you want to take your coaching and consulting business in the next 12, 24 months? Like where do you want to take it? Where do you see yourself going with it?
Yeah, I'm doing more in groups, and that's kind of my goal right now is to bring cohorts together
Okay. Yep.
and do less one-on-one because it's just so prohibitive. I can only deal with one person at a time, and so I've been doing a lot more groups and building
Yep.
kind of a cohort of a group of entrepreneurs that are similarly situated, and that's cool because you can see collaboration, you can see deal making take place. Even you see one guy light up when another woman asks a question. They're like, so I like that because
Yeah.
there's more just energy going into that. So I'm really focused on growing that a lot,
Cool.
and personally, I've been on a journey to try to figure out how to create better content because I'm holding the camera up and talking to it was not something that I've ever.
Yeah.
I didn't have Instagram until like a year and a half ago. It was the first time I ever logged on and downloaded the app in 2024.
Holy
So
shit.
yeah, I was old school. I lived out in the woods and I had a chainsaw and a beard and the whole thing. Like I was raising my kids and I was just kind of off the grid. So to do
Damn.
that was a big fucking mountain to climb, man. Like it was a lot of changes, like just psychologically tripping myself out, like recording me saying something stupid 14 times and be like, delete this. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Just
You're like, I sound so stupid. Like, why would
uh,
anyone listen to this, right? And
yeah,
it's just,
yeah. It's
I've
crazy.
seen I've seen a couple like speaking coaches as well.
Mhm.
Like, they say record yourself, but only audio, and then like listen to it back only in the audio, and then do the same thing but only watch yourself, no audio, and then do it one more time and then listen to the whole thing. It's so you can really pick out like where your
Mm.
awkwardness lives. Because for some people, they're actually like great on camera, but when they're speaking, it just sounds like straight garbage.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the opposite. Sometimes the way what they're saying sounds amazing, but then they're doing all sorts of weird things with their hands and their faces and whatever, right? So it's really good. So that's something I've been trying to do. Like as really my only piece of content is actually this. Really this
Yeah.
podcast, and so it's taken me a while to get used to I say finding my voice and also finding like my visual, I guess,
Hmm.
because yeah, there's just some things where you honestly just look dumb until you rewatch it
Yeah.
slow motion and it's
Yep.
painful and
Right.
but it's
Some of
what
it
you
is
need to
like
do.
some of it's making some improvements and figuring out where you need to get more clear, more succinct. Some of it's
Yeah,
just getting out of your fucking head, and just it's just letting go of the outcome and getting the reps in. So it's been a crazy journey. I'm feeling a little more comfortable with it now, but that's
good.
what I've been focused on a lot.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. You have such an amazing story, and I will just say that like as you're building content, man, just keep sharing that craziness of a story, like
You
from
got it, brother.
the being in the rehab and like like losing money, finding awesome success in business still, and like just continuing to keep going. You have like awesome resiliency, which is like really, really cool. But I always like to end off with one question, especially with someone that's had like, such a interesting journey as well too. If today was your last day and there was, trace of anything that you've ever done or written or whatever, there's nothing out there. You have the next 60 seconds to share something with the world, whether about life or business. What do you want to leave this world with?
Let's see. I guess it would be just like, go for it. Like, send it. The best way out is through, and don't, the limiting beliefs that get in our way. There's a message that's kind of imprinted in our heart when we come to this earth. I feel like everybody has one. And if you get real serious and you're real vulnerable, that it's there, and don't bury it. Don't pretend it doesn't exist, and be willing to pursue that North Star, because it's going to be scary and it's crazy, but it's also super rewarding. So send it, leave it all in the field, I guess is what I would say.
I love that. I love that one. And then I think a lot of people will appreciate that as well too, especially if you're feeling hesitant or unsure about, what you want to do, where you're going, or if your business is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Continue to send it and just go for it.
And Cory, I want to just say that if anybody out there listening here, any of your people, I've got playbooks galore. Like, if you need to hire a new developer and you're not sure how that process works, like, I got a playbook for that. Just come over. All I ask for you is to follow me on Instagram. Like, I'm trying to get my followers and stuff up, and you don't just send me your email or blood samples or anything. Like, anything that I have in my library, I want to share, because that's, like, it just makes such a difference when you have a little bit of a guide to follow. And yeah, ChatGPT can give you all these guides too. You can take mine, feed it in there, and make it apply to your situation. So anything I can do to help, I'm game. You can count on me.
I love it. And what is your Instagram, which we will also put in the description, but give us the plug now.
Yeah, it's Justin Lund. Same with LinkedIn and TikTok, and I think we're all in the same, all the platforms.
Perfect. So if anyone wants to reach out, you want to get some playbooks, and even, if you're interested about like kind of the coaching, and as he does the cohorts as well too, like, we'll make sure they follow you on Instagram, on LinkedIn, go to your website, all that stuff. We'll make sure all that's in there. But thank you again, Justin, for sharing your short story today. Pleasure. Awesome to have you on. We're always bringing on some amazing people like yourself, but today was a really, really, really fun one. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Cory. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Super SaaS Bros. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Like and subscribe. We don't know what the reviews do. We think they help. So if you think this was an awesome episode, definitely give us a 5-star rating.
For sure.
But thank you again, Justin, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Super SaaS Bros of Cory and Jade. We'll see you next time.